For the board members who were at this meeting, who were at the meeting last year, you were expecting to attend this special midweek service, which was to be presented by Reverend Jack. But this would unfortunately not end up happening. This service marks a very poignant anniversary as we started an interim period in how chapel would be presented for the following year. Jack's subject that he expressed excitement to present to everyone a year ago was going to be on the theme of constancy. And so to honor his excitement and energy and to fulfill a very small part of his amazing legacy, tonight's brief message will be on the theme of constancy. In life, we recognize that there are so many changes that can occur, changes that are planned or changes that are unplanned or unexpected. However, constancy is something that reminds us that over time, change is inevitable. And knowing how to bend without breaking, how to wrestle with the changes, is a key factor in how we learn to move towards acceptance of the changes and perseverance on the path that may be in front of us. Case in point, in the ever-evolving nature of working or being a patient here at Caron, in any of these roles, we rely on those who have come before us to help us learn the roles that we are moving into. Whether that is the role of recovery, whether that's our first steps on that journey, or whether it's a new position as a board member, or even the role as interim chapel facilitator. Change can be daunting and challenging, but it is when we have received the instruction from those who have come before us that we recognize the importance of the task that lays ahead of us. Again, whether that's someone stepping into recovery, someone getting a new job, transition on the board of directors, or the interim chapel facilitator, we may feel nervous, overwhelmed at the beginning, but there is maybe a tentative confidence because of those who have had confidence in us. And as a result, the constancy can be found in the foundation of those who have come before us and those who continue to remain in that foundational space, assisting us as we move to where we may need to grow. Reverend Jack would often talk regularly about the hero's journey based on Joseph Campbell's monomyth. A person is called to a quest. It may take a little time before that person accepts that quest. The person will be met with struggles that they will need to wrestle with. They may feel broken at times, but the brokenness can lead to a deeper experience of growth if they learn from that struggle. The key part of this story is that the hero in this journey is on their epic quest, and they are not alone. As long as they accept the help, the assistance will be there in the form of friends, mentors, colleagues, and those we consider family, which may be family of choice. Just like the hero on their epic quest, knowing that there is something we can also turn to that is a constant presence, whether a meeting, a group of people, a source of guidance, a higher power, can give us a feeling of steadfastness and courage when we may feel at our most broken. It can give us that feeling of having the light meeting the secrets and the shame that have been walled up inside of us. And it can give us a feeling of being seen, maybe for the first time. Now, all those who have heard me do lectures many times have heard me say, whatever you seek to connect with, whether it's a community of support, a practical form of support such as a set of disciplines, or an ethereal support such as God, spirit, energy, nature, universe, or a deceased loved one. If you have not been working on building a relationship with it, you may not feel the trust, the dependability, or the loyalty that you may need when you're struggling. Now, an example I've been using a lot, and I used it today actually in a lecture, which involves posting on Facebook. Say you're part of a Facebook group and you post a question to that group, and say some random people answer that question, giving you some advice or insight that may or may not be helpful. If you don't have some kind of relationship with this person, you may be less likely to try that advice out. However, if a close friend who's also in that group gives you some insight, you may be more willing to listen to them because you have a relationship with them. You are more likely to listen to direction given from something or someone that you have a good relationship with than something or someone that you do not have a relationship with. You're more likely to form a sense of trust with something that has given you constancy in your life so far, such as that close friend, versus someone or something that you're unfamiliar with. And this is no different with community, disciplines, or an ethereal higher power. If we're looking for connection, trust, and constancy with any of these, then we have to become willing to start seeking a connection and a relationship with it. If someone has a gym membership but they don't go to the gym, they won't get the results they're seeking because there's no constancy in the situation. If a person says their home group is their higher power but they don't go to meetings or participate when they do go, then their home group's a good intellectual understanding of higher power, but there's no constancy in this situation. If a person says God, nature, universe, a deceased loved one is their higher power, but they don't talk to it, or more importantly, they don't listen to it, they have a good intellectual understanding of higher power, but again, there is no constancy in this situation either. Constancy is about learning how to build relationships, build trust, build loyalty. It's also about learning how to offer trust and loyalty to others. Let's face it, sometimes we can be duped into building trust in unhealthy people who somehow trick us into thinking there's someone they're not. Let's face it, that's what happened with substance or alcohol use for the majority of people. It tricked us into believing it could give us confidence. It tricked us into believing it could take away our sadness or depression or things like that. It's important, especially when it comes down to finding that which we can turn to for guidance during the rough times, that we remember that we need to work on learning to listen to that which actually does have our backs in those difficult circumstances and is always there. Just like a reading we had before this message, the steadfast love of that source of guidance never ceases, and its mercies will never come to an end. It has always been there for us. We have to learn to listen to what it is saying to us. Constancy can be that which teaches us that being in relationship, any relationship, with a source of guidance or a loved one or a community of support takes work. But that work is rewarding, and as we do that work, on building these relationships, we come to appreciate the value of the relationships that we're forming with that person or being or discipline. And we gain a stronger appreciation for the work and the job or the task that we have been given. So as we think of the theme of constancy and recognize that on our own epic journeys, the quests that we have been called to, we may have experienced woundedness, brokenness, or grief. But we can also remember that there can be a hope in finding a different way, a way that leads us to finding where the healing can begin. The woundedness, brokenness, and grief are not defects, but they can become gifts that help us find those who have had similar experiences. The woundedness, brokenness, or grief can teach us compassion, empathy, and lead us into a deeper sense of growth, which can bring about our ability to find a source of connection and constancy, including with ourselves. So as you move into your own epic journeys, I hope that you remember those who came before you, the mentors who taught you well, and that you find the people, the communities, and the sources of guidance that can help you grow in the trust, loyalty, and hope, as well as constancy that you deserve. Amen.